Okay, you have the NFL Week 6 prediction. So I'm filming this after the early games on Sunday, so I don't know all the results yet. So your first game, the Colts versus the Jaguars. Jaguars coming off a really ugly loss against the Texans, and the Colts coming off an ugly win versus the um, Denver. So neither of both these teams didn't play that well last week, obviously, and Jacksonville they have looked better, but against Houston they look terrible, and the Colts they looked terrible throughout against the Broncos, but still managed to win. Colts have an extra few days, and the Jaguars did not look good. And Jaguars did shut out the Colts the first time they played, but I don't see that happening again. I'm taking the Colts. Then you have the Browns versus the Patriots. Patriots coming off a shutout against the Detroit, who was the number one offense. The Browns coming off a close loss versus a very good Chargers team. And the Browns, Nick Chubb totally carried them, and they almost got the win. Brissett was okay. Zappy, like for the Patriots, is also okay, but it was their defense shutting out the Lions, and that helped to get the win. And this one's going to be one of the more underrated games, and the it was really impressive how the Patriots shut out the Lions, but I'm gonna still take the Browns and Nick Chubb. I don't think they can stop us. I'm gonna take them. Then you have the game of the week, which is Chiefs versus the Bills, which is somehow not on prime time. And Chiefs, I haven't seen them play yet. They play against the Raiders this week, and the Bills coming off a crushing win over the Steelers, and it would just show how dangerous the Bills were. They were scoring touchdowns left and right, especially in the first half, and they were just looking really good. The Chiefs also looked really good. They had a win over the Bucks, one of the best defenses, and Mahomes and company look great versus them. And both these teams are playing very, very well with both very explosive offense. But I'm gonna take the Bills because I think their defense can hold them better. They helped the Steelers like 3 points, even garbage. Then you have the Chargers versus the Broncos on Monday night. Chargers coming off a close win against the Browns, and the Broncos coming off a close loss versus the Colts. Broncos, their offense does not look good right now. Their defense is good, but against a high-powered offense like the Chargers, I don't think they can hold for long enough. And the Chargers, I think their defense can slow down the Broncos' offense, so I'll make the Chargers. Then you have the Packers versus the Jets. Jets coming off a win against Miami, and the Packers coming off a loss against the Giants. Packers do have home field advantage here, and the Jets even it was a pretty good win versus the Miami, even though Miami is only starting their third stringer. And their defense played well. Their offense definitely inconsistent. Zach Wilson didn't look great. And their run game, they had a few big plays, but they're stuffed too many times. And it's mainly their defense that's been playing well. And the Packers, they completely got destroyed in the second half, but I'm going to still take the Packers. I trust Aaron Rodgers more against Zach Wilson. I don't think Zach Wilson could carry the game. Then you have the New Orleans versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals playing Sunday night. New Orleans come off a close win over Seattle. New Orleans defense did not play very well against Seattle, but their offense managed to make up for it. Kamara had a good game. Ali Dallin had a good game. Olave had a good game before he got injured. And the Bengals, the last win coming over the Dolphins, and they've looked better. The offensive line has played a lot better. The passing game, but their run game still sucks. But Bengals overall have a pretty good defense, so I'm gonna take the Bengals. Then you have the Giants versus the Ravens. Giants come off a close win versus the Packers, and the Ravens play on Sunday night. The Ravens offense has looked really, really well so far, if not for a late half collapse. And the Giants, they've won despite not having the greatest performances. And I'm gonna still take the Ravens. I think they're too good of a team for the Giants. Then you have the Bucks versus the Steelers, and Steelers did not do good against the Bills. Their defense couldn't stop Josh Allen at all, and their offense couldn't move the ball against the Bills defense. And the Buccaneers have one of the best defenses, and they're coming off a win against Atlanta, where the defense held them in check for the first half. And the Bucks offense isn't terrible, but especially against the first half against Atlanta, but in the second half they got shut out pretty much. And Steelers to me just aren't talented enough, so I'm with the Bucks. Then you have the Dolphins versus the Vikings. Very interesting game. Vikings coming off a close win versus the Bears, where they allowed the Bears offense to get 22 points. And the Dolphins coming off a big loss versus the Jets. Not that big, but loss versus Jets where they had to start Skylar Thompson. Definitely the point spread on that one is skewed. But Dolphins defense, um, They don't allow a lot of points, but they do allow a lot of yardage. And the Vikings offense, they've been good and bad at times. So this one's gonna be a hard game to predict. I'd say if Tua is starting, I'm gonna take the Dolphins, especially since they have home field advantage. Then you have the Bears versus the football team on Thursday Night Football. Very ugly game. I did not want to watch it. Bears come off a close loss versus the Vikings, and Commanders come off a close loss versus the Titans. This is going to be a defensive game. I'll take the Bears because of home field advantage. You have the Falcons versus the Niners. Niners currently play against the Panthers. Falcons coming off a loss against the Buccaneers. Falcons offense did not do well against the Buccaneers defense until the second half where they got something going in it, but their defense shut out the Bucs in the second half, which isn't that hard this year. San Francisco coming off a win against the Rams and looking very good against the Panthers right now. To me, they're just too talented. I'm gonna take the Seattle. Then you have Seattle versus Cardinals. Seattle coming off a close loss versus the Saints, and Cardinals playing against the Eagles right now. And to me, the Seahawks defense is going to be a weakness. They allow 39 points to a struggling Saints offense. The Seahawks offense is good, but not good enough to keep up with the Cardinals offense, who also have a pretty bad defense. But I'm gonna take the Cardinals. You have the Rams versus the Panthers, both struggling teams right now. Rams currently losing to the Cowboys, and Panthers losing to the 49ers. And Rams, they have the talent, but their offensive line sucks. Fortunately, Panthers don't have a really strong defensive line. The Panthers have a young overall defense, but their offense sucks. Their coaching sucks. And the Rams have home field advantage with the Rams. Then you have the Eagles versus the Cowboys. Very, very good game. Cowboys currently winning against the Rams. Eagles winning against the Cardinals right now. And Eagles, they're 5-0, or 4-0 and they looked really, really well. Jalen Hurts playing great. Their offensive line and defensive line controlling the trenches well. The Cowboys always do well against divisional opponent, keeps on winning. I'm gonna pick the Cowboys and give the Eagles first loss. But there you have it, NFL Week 6 predictions.